talk about how we can add different details and things to our pieces. So here is the example from the first part that I showed you, okay? So in here, mine has been in my bowl, and you can see that it stands up pretty well on its own. And from here, I could really add any carving or details into it, okay? So if you kind of look at it from the side, you can see that it's kind of curved up a little bit, all right? But I know a lot of you are interested in adding some things to the side, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So first off, what you need to do is I would recommend getting a piece of construction paper and measuring how long you need it to be, okay? So obviously, if you have something that is not rounded, you would probably do this in different sides. Like if it was a square, you would measure each side, okay? So since this is rounded, I'm just gonna go around like this. Okay, and I'm gonna make a mark on the outside of how long I need this to wrap around. So there's where I've left my mark. So that's basically where I'm going to cut this. So we can just cut this with the scissors, or if it's a really big piece, ask me and we can use the paper cutter. All right, so I've cut this out. So notice this is basically how thick I want it to, or how tall I want it to be. And so it fits around there. So then what you need to do is you basically just need to create a slab that is this length. Now something this long, you might kind of have to do in a couple of parts, okay? So for instance here, I have a lot of clay here. It's definitely thick enough, but it's definitely not long enough. So you might have to do that a couple of times, or maybe just kind of adjust it a little bit. So here's how I'm going to do that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to trim this off by going like this. I'm not cutting it. And then I'm just going to extend it, because look, if I do this, it's definitely long enough. So I'm just going to connect it like this. And I'm just smoothing it together. I'm gonna flip it over, smooth it together, and then I'm gonna go take this back through the slab roller to smooth it out a little bit more. All right, I took it back through the slab roller, so now I'm gonna smooth out both those sides, get rid of that texture, just make sure it's very, very smooth. All right, so now I have my stencil. It should fit on there. There we go. Okay, and so what you need to do is you need to pick what's gonna be the top side and what's gonna be the bottom. Here's the reason why, because we're gonna cut them a little bit different. So the top side, we're just going to cut straight, all right? So I'm gonna have this be the top, so I'm just gonna cut all the way through. Now this bottom part, I'm actually gonna kind of cut at an angle, okay? Meaning that I want it to be like a 45-degree angle. So let me show you what I'm doing. So you can see here that it's kind of slanted a little bit, unlike the top that is a little bit curved. So all I'm doing, instead of cutting straight up and down like this, I'm just turning my tool at an angle, like that 45-degree angle. That's what we call beveling the edge. All right. Okay, so there are definitely things I want to smooth out here, but I'm going to do that after I get it connected. So to get that connected, what we are going to do, we're going to place that here. And depending on where you measured, you will probably want to attach it to the outside of it rather than on the top, okay? If you want to do it on the top, that's okay, but I measured mine to be on the outside, all right? So what I need to do is I have to slip and score where I'm going to attach that. So I'm gonna take my scoring tool, and so I just need it to be kind of scored along this bottom part. So I'm just gonna go like this. Okay, and then I need this all scored along the outside of this shape. All right, I just grabbed a different slip container. So we're gonna take our slip and we're just going to lightly dab. We're not wiping because we're just gonna then we just get rid of all of those little lines. Okay. And then I'm gonna do that on the outside here too. All right, so from here, then I am going to carefully and lightly press around to attach this. So like I said, you do not necessarily have to do this in one piece. If yours have sides on it, like a square, you might do every single one separate, and then we'll just smooth out where it attaches. Okay, so now, I have a little bit of extra clay, which is fine, but I want to cut that out. And I find it easiest, once again, to cut it both out at an angle. So if you cut it the opposite way, so it fits together rather than straight up and down, think about 45-degree angles. So here I'm cutting this one diagonally, okay? And so this one, I want to cut the other way diagonally so that it fits pretty good together. And you can literally do this with any tool, even a pencil. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now it really matches up nicely there. So then I still gotta score a little bit, slip, and then you'll just carefully press that together. So now from here, you are gonna have to do some extra smoothing. So we have a couple of seams that we have to take care of. This is what I mean by seams. So what I would do first is, we're gonna have to take care of this on the backside, but we'll do that in a second. Let's take care of this in here. We can do that one of two ways. You can take a tool and you'll support it and you'll just kind of, I call it mending the seams, where you just kind of scrape the clay in. Now, if you feel like you need a little extra clay in here, another option you can do is just roll a very, very small coil. And then what we're gonna do with that, if your clay is really wet, we can skip the slipping and scoring part, is we're just gonna press this in around here, and you'll probably have to do that a couple of times so that you get clay that fits everywhere. Okay, so then we're gonna do that same thing with this tool, and you're just really gonna take some time, and notice I am supporting with the outside hand, otherwise it's just gonna move. You're gonna smooth that out. You can also use your rib tools. Those work really, really well. You just have to be patient. Sometimes I like to use the serrated rib and actually scrape it up. And you might be thinking, hello, that's making it worse. But then you just go in with one of the smoothing tools and that can really, really help, or just go over with one of these tools. So as you can see, sometimes it looks worse before it looks better, and that's okay. Okay, so before I finish smoothing this out, because I'm gonna kind of do the rest of that with a damp sponge, I'm gonna carefully turn this over, and we gotta make sure that we don't push down, otherwise this middle part's just gonna go, okay? So we gotta get rid of this seam. I'm just gonna do that by using a combination of my tools, but I'm really gonna scrape this in. and then smooth it like this. We will want to avoid using a sponge on the back here because when we have it stored on something, it will just increase its chances of sticking. So you can see where I smooth that together, it kind of overhangs a little bit, no big deal. We can take our little loop tool and just kind of trim around to clean up any of those little edges. All right, so now I'm going to squeeze out that sponge like crazy, and I'm gonna smooth out the rest of those lines in there. Remember, like really, you should only have to dip it in the water one time. If you're doing it more than that, you have way too much water. All right, so I have a lot of refining to do on mine as far as taking care of some of these edges and stuff, but you can see how that can help you get your sides on there, okay?